Now I'd like to introduce you to Kieran MacLeod. He's a very special young man. He'll speak with us at the Town Hall number 9, but he's also a young 25-year-old paraplegic and former day trader who now advises enterprises on decentralized finance and cryptocurrency. You might be wondering why somebody with a disability might want to teach you about money. Well, because he semi-retired in the Bitcoin bubble as a very young man. And when he had this freak accident that paralyzed him from the chest down, he had the mindset to still be an innovator. Through innovation, he's been able to get himself out of that debt cycle and start over. So now he's a CEO, board advisor, and consultant with other companies. He had his own financial products and is now advising people on managing portfolios in the decentralized currency space. The first project we're going to do with Kieran is launch an exoskeleton roadshow, the first of many Futureville-led projects. The goal here is to get him an exoskeleton so that he can overcome the pain and immobility and the limitations to the productive time in his day. He could reclaim 5 to 8 hours a day just by having this augmented suit where he could stand, sit, even start to walk again. This would exercise his body, keep it from diminishing, keep his mental health in good shape. So we're good to talk to Kieran today and look forward to hearing your feedback to our initiative to make 1 million people with mobility issues transform their lives for a better future.
All right, so Kieran, we are soon going to bring Kieran on stage, and you've already heard a lot about Kieran and who he is. One of the things to remember is that these things build on each other. In a past town hall, we had the speakers Mark Hamade and Miguel Santiago. And Miguel is one of the co-producers of Kieran MacLeod's story. And Kieran is, of course, here with us today to share his incredible story. And I don't even know exactly what, I have some questions, of course, but I really want to let Kieran kind of tell us what's going on. And I'll bring him on to do that. But Kieran is also, hi, Kieran. It's great to have you here with us today. So wonderful to see you.
Nice to meet you too.
Great. So I'm going to have you talk a little bit about yourself, not just words on the screen or us talking about you, especially because you're here. And then I do know also that you're going to be working with us, Angela, Faye, Bernard, and Open EXO, and Nikki, and the EXO Economy on the EXO, well, it's the EXO Roadshow, Augmented Mobility. So when we say EXO, we're not talking about exoskeletons, but you are. So there's a lot, that's a fun overlap. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about those things, how you ended up here today, and what really moves you in crypto, or where I'll probably be taking the questions, just to give you a little heads up. And again, thank you so much for being here. And I can't wait to see what we make together. So take it away. Tell us more.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, hopefully I remember all of those points. So yeah, I guess the journey started when I was in my second year of university, kind of discovering cryptocurrency after digging into finance a little bit and finding out how it changed and hopefully would change the world, even though it had already quite a bit. And spending about a year or two investigating it, learning about it, seeing what kind of overlaps it might have in my life, and how the group of people in crypto and the type of people that it was encouraging were motivated by things other than just the financial gains that Bitcoin and other cryptos would bring. A lot of like the mindset type stuff that was very enduring. Yeah, I did that for about a year or two until I met a business partner that I wanted to work together with, doing automated trading strategies. And we did that for about a year before I broke my back. And yeah, that happened in Thailand. We were getting incubated by, or attempting to get incubated by Master Ventures Fund. And just right at the end of the trip going to the airport, we had a bike crash. And yeah, I ended up breaking my T6. So just below probably what you can see on camera. So I'm standing up right now, but I'm in like a standing wheelchair type thing, so kind of helps. But I do get a little dizzy sometimes too, so you might notice that my train of thought might get a little distracted sometimes. I might have to sit down halfway through, but for now, it's pretty good. But yeah, I ended up breaking my back and needing to spend about a year in rehab and the hospital. basically attempting to see what kind of damage had been done and what type of recovery was possible. So using some exosuits a couple months in and trying to do some walking therapy and testing out some different physiotherapies and exercise techniques until it got to the point where my life became more stable and I could try and work again. And luckily, I was still working with my business partner on a venture and got to continue for another year and approach more of the DeFi space, get into token engineering, smart contract design, and just general consulting in the DeFi space, which has been great. And then, yeah, a couple months ago, about a month ago, I met Angela. She came across my website that I had run to try and help find an exosuit or see if I could connect with someone that would be able to help me source one, because it had been very difficult to do. And we came up with this idea for the ExO Roadshow. It seems pretty awesome. There's a lot of need for exosuits out there. There's a lot of paralyzed people that can't move a lot and get stuck inside. And it ends up taking over quite a lot of your life. You get an injury like this. Because even just, I guess, right before this call, it was about 11. I mean, I woke up at about 5 and I've basically just been doing like health maintenance stuff and like kind of getting ready for the day until now. So it takes just a lot more time. Usually it might take half an hour or an hour to get ready and do everything, but it ends up eating a lot more time. So you've got to be very efficient and find exponential tools and technologies that kind of slowly get you time back. Like beside me, I have this like ultrasound device in here, but helps me scan my bladder, and because I can't feel it, see how often I need to pee instead of just waiting for it to like explode or give me an infection. But something like that completely changed my life. And something like an exosuit or just other things that can be built out there can just do a lot for people. So yeah, that might be most of what I remember from the question. If there's something I forgot, maybe this might be a good time to remind me.
Kieran, that was fantastic. Look, I have a ton of questions, and I really appreciate your sharing and the sincerity. And if you need anything, tell me, and we'll take a minute. But one of the things is you experienced this event in your life, and one of the things we talk about is building resilience into organizations. Well, organizations are groups of people, and we should be learning from people too. So in your journey, clearly you embody resilience. You're here, you're standing in the standing wheelchair, you're taking care of things that need to be taken care of. Are there any lessons in resilience you might want to share? Because I think it's also a hallmark of blockchain and crypto, and these things are all related, and we need to look across longitudinally. I'm curious what your thoughts might be there.
Yeah, that's a good question. Because we really want resilient blockchains, hopefully. And we need resilient people running some of these organizations too. But yeah, resilience, it kind of comes in waves, like a lot of things in life. It's heavily tied to gratitude, it seems. The more grateful and appreciative you are, the more resilient you can be. Yeah, I like to pull on people from like Viktor Frankl and Friedrich Nietzsche and even, pretty horrible stuff. Like thinking about anything from the Holocaust or like great tragedies can really build in, I guess, not as much comparisons, but like realizations of what you're going through is, even though really intense at moments, is nothing in comparison to how much worse things can still get and how good things are. And how much better they can get as well. Things can, a lot of it's just your mindset for resilience, it seems. So if you can build more resilient systems in your mindset, hopefully we can be more adaptable.
So the two big takeaways there, build a better mindset, gratitude being a critical part of that. And I'm not sure, I think that's an interesting idea to try to apply gratitude to building of resilient DAOs that leverage cryptocurrency and blockchains at scale. That could be an interesting way to think about things. I don't know, but why don't we do that in our next panel? So we've got Salim Ismail rejoining us, Kieran, and I'm sure he's going to have questions. He's been backstage watching and listening, so he'll have some questions. I have some additional questions for you as well. Salim, welcome back.
Good to be here.
And
Hello.
you've been listening, and yeah,
Nice
so
to connect.
please, you guys introduce each other to each other, and say hi, and you've heard kind of the conversation that Kieran has been having and Salim. Before I ask, I have a lot of questions for you, Kieran, but before I go, have you, while you've been thinking about what Kieran's been talking about have any question, Salim, you'd like to ask this panel, basically?
I've got a bunch. I'll let you start on the resilience stuff and the blockchain stuff. I think on the personal level, the hallmark of character is always not what happens to you, it's how you rebound and respond to it. And I can't imagine what, the different stages of grief and whatever you've gone through, of anger, denial, depression, God knows what. But it sounds like you're dealing with it as well as one could ever deal with it. So huge congratulations on that. And let us know if there's anything our community can ever do to support what you're doing. I think I'm more interested, that transition of how you navigate that is a really important story to tell for lots of people. So at some point it would be interesting to get into that separately. But Kent, back to you.
Yeah, we probably won't be able to dig deep into that one today, Kieran, but I do hope that as we go through the EXO, this roadshow that you and Angela have planned, Open EXO is going to be right there alongside, and because Angela is one of our wonderful coaches, so we're all connected now, and so that's really great. The thing that I want to ask about is, so you mentioned that it's hard to get an exoskeleton. Okay. So when I was at CES in January of 2020, right before I got locked down for nearly 2 years, I was walking around and I saw 2 or 3, insane looking devices, right? Exoskeletons that just kind of look like something straight out of science fiction. But it's my understanding that those cost millions of dollars if they're attainable at all, right? And do you think that there are possibilities? And sorry, one other anecdote is there was recently a story made the rounds about a father who couldn't afford an exoskeleton, and he built one for his own son. And that was a beautiful story, really, really moving, And so I was like, wow, okay. So all these people, you're telling me there's more of this. How could we use crypto and DAOs and communities like OpenEXO or other communities to fix this? Because that's ridiculous. Come on. The technology exists. We need to get it in the right hands.
Yeah, you might be surprised. There are devices that cost more than $1 million, but there are also ones as cheap as about $65,000 US that seem to work for injury similar to what I've got. So there's the average one's maybe only about 150. So I don't know if the price has dropped a lot in the last year, but yeah, there's about maybe 19 to 25 on the market right now. And yeah, they're hard to access mainly because of where they're approved for. So some are only approved in Germany, some are only approved in Japan, some are only approved in the States, and some only want to sell to residents of those countries as well. So there's been a couple of roadblocks in that regards. And then, a lot of it is just the funds too. It might be 150,000 up front, and then you need maintenance for it, and you probably need a couple months of intense physio. So those are anywhere from like $100 to $200 per session, and you've got to do that for like 3 to 6 months as you build up with the exosuit and learn how to use it, and hopefully get to the point where you can start using it independently instead of having someone standing behind you, basically holding you up. Even though a lot of these suits do have the ability to get you to walk alone, you kind of have to practice and get used to it and adapt a bit more to them.
Do you have a sense of how many people in the world need this service? Yeah,
it's millions. There's it might be 20 million in the US.
20 million in the US need some form of assistive technology like this.
Yeah, it's not only people with paralysis. If you have multiple sclerosis or ALS, you get to a point where you degenerate pretty fast and can't even stand up, or you shake too much.
My father suffered from multiple sclerosis, and I watched that decline. It was not fun.
Yeah, even people with really bad dementia. end up not being able to walk and move around. So these
Yeah.
devices are pretty necessary. And the fact that most people just get stuck in a stationary wheelchair that doesn't even stand up, because I had to go and source this one myself. The government was only going to cover about $2,000 of it, and they're anywhere from like $24,000 to $30,000 usually.
So we're gonna keep exploring this, because we'll do a little bit of live problem solving, right? So maybe we can kick something and make it move. I don't know, but the other thing I think about is how you organize people. So distributed autonomous organization. You'll agree or disagree with this, I suppose, but a distributed autonomous organization is effectively a digitized, crypto monetized cooperative, right? So it's a bunch of people that get together in a network to do something for one another. And cooperatives are well known for operating in times of economic depression and being born then and then doing things. Well, this sort of simulates that in a way, right? If you've got 20 million people that need something, they can't get it due to regulatory approval reasons or monetary reasons. Well, you could band together, and maybe this roadshow is going to help with that. That could be amazing. And then if you apply DAO, if you like my definition of a DAO, you apply that, then wow, right? I mean, you could actually effectively, in a way, self-fund through donation, through work, through all kinds of things. What are your thoughts? Do you think that makes sense? Like, this is just live. I'm just thinking out loud.
Yeah, no, there's a value to making people more functional for sure. I believe there's only one guy in Florida that ended up taking his insurance company to court over the necessity of him getting access to an EXO suit as an individual instead of maybe just therapy once or twice a month. And I don't know if anyone's all followed suit as well. I mean, it costs a lot of money to go to court, but as groups and as communities, people can empower themselves, because it costs a certain amount to get an EXO suit, but you also get a certain amount of function and value back in your life by having one. Just like almost any other piece of technology, it's like having a computer before having one. For someone that hasn't walked for me, it's only been 2.5 years now, but for someone that hasn't walked in 10 years or longer, or just someone that's about to become paraplegic for life, if you could give them an EXO suit 2 years earlier, I can't imagine how much more productive I would have been in the last 2 years if I had one of these from the start, along with so many other people. You have to go through these deep dives through, like, it's great to have built this resilience, but there's other ways to develop it too, not in chaos and maybe as much suffering. You can still use these technologies and learn a lot from it.
Slim, you want to add anything in here?
Well, I think there's a metaphor on how dependent Kieran is. I think the world is dependent on technology in different ways, right? We're all kind of, I think the world has broken its spinal cord with climate change and other things. I mean, we're going to need a truckload of help. In fact, the moniker of what you're talking about is exactly why we're named the way we are. We think about EXO civilization as a scaffolding that supports the fragile interior. And we need an EXO society. We need EXO institutions. We need a whole bunch of stuff to support this stuff, because we're all kind of in a mess at various levels. It may not be as obvious and apparent as what you're going through. And of course, there's a ton of associated difficulties. I love the fact that you have the scanner for your bladder. That's amazing, because there's these hundreds of little things that you never think about that all of a sudden you can deal with. And 10 years ago, that may not have been possible, right? And so, I think what we're dealing with the advent of technology, blockchain, crypto, decentralized, whatever, is making all these things possible that just were never possible before. I think for us, that gets us really excited about supporting both people like you and everything else that's going on in the world.
That's great. Kieran, I want to shift gears just a little bit. In your introduction, it was mentioned that you've had experience and you've worked in the crypto space, and especially with Bitcoin. Do you have any, or how would you like to share what you have done in that space and how crypto in general might have impacted your life. You know that the ExO economy has its own native token, ExOs, but that's not really the whole point there. But it is, people are asking and curious about those things.
Yeah, yeah. So I guess crypto's been a big reason I'm still alive now, and have met all the awesome people that I've met, and I've got to the point where I can even stand here and have this call. Friends in crypto have supported me since getting injured, and changed my life in so many ways. But even before getting injured, it made it so I could become fairly independent and help friends become independent. Financially, at least, especially the hard time where people are in university and not able to have as much independence as maybe they hope, and stuck trying to find a job. It allowed me to, basically retire from a lot of the normal grind that a lot of people find them in, getting a conventional job. I was able to move onto a farm and live in a tiny house, and be like very self-sufficient. It was solar powered, and I spent about a year or two designing it and building it and getting it fabricated. And that only happened about a year before I got injured. So the house is not wheelchair accessible now, unfortunately, but it was only about 99 square feet, and it housed my entire life. Everything I owned was in there, and I was growing my own food, so I could live self-sufficiently, just with crypto appreciating. This was in the good times before the crash. And then once the crash happened, still be able to not really need any money for stuff. I could spend most of my days researching and building towards the next cycle and towards next companies and technologies that would take off. And then after I got injured, my crypto friends were some of my strongest and supportive friends in the space, that I'd either met in conferences or working together, and stuck around quite a lot.
Are you a Bitcoin maximalist?
I definitely would not say so. I think picking any side, like maximalism or minimalism, is a little too ideological for what I like. I definitely love Bitcoin and think it's going to be around for a long time. I also appreciate there's a lot of problems with it and all of its forks, and maybe the prominent people behind each of the forks or communities. There's, like any space, it's not like a DAO where you get to maybe have a bit more control over and thresholds for who enters and becomes prominent. Like anyone can become a Bitcoin maximalist and talk about it. Seems easier to do than to think about it deeply. But I don't know. How about you? Are you a Bitcoin maximalist?
I tend to be. In terms of, at least as a store of value, I just don't see how it doesn't go through a massive boom and take over a larger and larger chunk of the world's asset represented inside it. There was a webinar we did a few months ago, and there was a great comment made that at some point we'll hit a tipping point and measure the value of things in BTC rather than dollars. Right. And
I definitely agree with a lot of that. Yeah. I guess maybe the question I should have answered is defining maximalism and what that meant.
I'm not sure myself. So
how many Michael Saylors can there be? Right. I don't know.
Happy enthusiast is the label I would put on.
Enthusiast.
All right, Kieran. Thank you. You're an extraordinary human being, and I really feel that we're fortunate to have you here to work to be with us today, to work with Angela, for opening ExO to get to work with you. It's really wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing your story, and I know we're going to learn a lot more about your story, and I'm quite certain that people who are watching this today are going to have ideas and want to share with you. So let's just keep that ball rolling and moving forward. And I can't thank you enough for joining us on our show today. This is why we're here. We're here to find ways to support the things that matter and help people sort of operate alongside that traditional economy. And you figured that out all on your own without us, and you're doing it. And we're just trying to do that for more and more people too in our own way. So wonderful. Thank you so much. And Salim, thank you for joining our panel today. Really appreciate it. I'll chase you down later for other stuff. And any parting words, Kieran or Salim, before we wrap the panel?
Yeah, I just want to thank you both. I didn't get to talk to Salim as much as I maybe wanted to, but thank you for moderating that. That was great.
I won't take that personally, and we'll talk soon, and we'll make it happen. All right.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, Kieran. Thanks so much. Salim, thank you. Take care, guys.
All right,
So the next thing we've got, now, listen, I know I want you to watch the video that's coming up. This video is about 5 minutes or so, and this is an explanation of the project that you heard about that Kieran is going to be working with us on. Kieran, the young man who just joined us, that's going to be run by Angela Fay, who is an open ExO coach and running a project called Futureville. So we really wanted to take this opportunity to introduce you much more deeply to the Futureville project and what Angela's got going on. So let's get that rolling. And
now, purpose-driven places will be the norm. We're living in a different era. More efficient systems, shared ownership and access, elevated consciousness, abundance, play and creative contribution, technology advancements, and changing work patterns are all influencing how we live today. Recently, I met Kieran, who truly is the next generation entrepreneur. He was on a mission to raise funds to buy an exoskeleton. In 2019, he was in a motorcycle accident while overseas and securing investment for a Bitcoin and cryptocurrency company. And his motorcycle accident left him a paraplegic. Despite his optimism and exponential mindset, I discovered that Kieran was experiencing many barriers in his life. As he was trying to find an exoskeleton, he was limited by the upfront investment cost of the suit itself, which was up to $100,000, with no financing or insurance claim option available. He had limited access to try before you buy options for the different suits that were available because of lack of healthcare approvals. We realized that the public system earns way more money, between $1 to $3.5 million of lifetime costs, serving Kieran as a paraplegic rather than helping him access the technology to radically improve his quality of life and autonomy. And these are just some of Kieran's barriers to accessing the technology needed to improve his life. And Kieran is not alone. According to the Christopher Reeve Foundation, nearly 1 in 50 people are living with paralysis. And in the US alone, this is 5.4 million people. The exciting part is that there are visionaries who are working on solutions. There are all kinds of entrepreneurs and companies that are building exoskeletons or similar to help augment human performance and mobility. Yet in talking to many of them, they're experiencing their own barriers. So when we pause to ask the question, what would be a bold solution? Several companies and collaborators came up with the biggest imagination possible. Let's build a purpose-built village fueled by the massively transformative purpose of enabling augmented human performance. The village would have a core group of residents whose environment was designed to cater to their unique mobility characteristics. There would be accommodation for medium and long-term stays for rehabilitation, unique work experiences. There would be maker spaces for corporate and startup manufacturers. There would be food growing, entertainment, innovation labs, healthcare trials, and of course, transport terminuses for connection to other villages. This is our bold goal. Build a purpose-driven place dedicated to enabling augmented human mobility and performance. Every bold vision starts with a single step. So our magic first step is to ask for 1 minute of your time. With the collection of all of our small contributions, we will pave the way for 1 million people with paralysis to experience enhanced mobility. We would love to connect with landowners or investors in building the dream village. But we also want to connect with manufacturers of exoskeletons or similar who are augmenting human performance with their unique products. And collectively, we plan on taking the vision and products on the road to connect users, distributors, innovative communities committed to the adoption of these new technologies for their people and the people that need them most. You can simply take 1 moment to email us and connect us to someone who would share a vision. And if you are so inclined, we would love to reward you for your connection. So we have a dashboard where you can submit your idea, your connection, your contact on our dashboard on first route, and you can earn 250 EXOs just for sharing your idea. Up to 40 rewards of 250 EXOs will be rewarded for those awesome impact connections. Here is the invite link and the access code to submit your ideas. We want to thank you for sharing this journey with Kieran and us at Futureville, the Sci-Fi Hive, the Open EXO community, and the EXO Economy.
Well, there's another wow. That's an amazing project by one of the Open EXO community members, Angela, and I cannot wait to see where it goes. I know I'll be giving a minute of my time to help and any other support that they need. This is the kind of thing that when I was thinking about, well, if we make the EXO economy in a token and we have this incredible community, what kind of things can happen? Well, you can't really guess right then what's going to happen, but I'm seeing these things now and I'm yes, that's right. So I'm going to be doing everything I can to support that. I hope you will too.